Over the next couple of days, we will continue our look at the candidates for the different races that we have out there, with early voting only really a couple of weeks away, counting down the days until early voting. That's almost here. We have in studio with us right now, candidate for Texas 19, Dr. Donald May, back in studio with us. Welcome back.
Good morning. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
We are not far out from early voting.
Week from Tuesday.
Yeah,
Week from Tuesday. A lot happening between then and now.
Absolutely. Where all have you been campaigning at?
We've been campaigning the entire district. We've hit every county at least once. We're on the second time around. Many of the places, of course, like Big Spring and Abilene and Graham and Plainview, we've hit a number of times, and we've had very good reception. We had a nice forum over in Levelland yesterday at noon with Chamber of Commerce, and as you're aware, you were at the debate last night. Right. It was not a debate; it was a forum.
Yeah, the forum last night hosted by the Lubbock Chamber, and it was also on KCBD. I'm pretty sure they've got footage on their website.
It's linked.
Too,
the whole thing's linked.
Yeah.
Watch the whole thing if you want.
Well, that's good. That's
or
good.
They can just watch me. I think that's the best part. That would be my suggestion.
And folks, if you do have a question, feel free to dial in if you have a question for Dr. May on his campaign. Dr. May, I've had a lot of voters who have come up to me, and I'm sure people have come up to you as well. And the thing that they keep asking is, okay, what are the real differences between these candidates? Because I think outside of really radio interviews, there's not been a lot of coverage of the Texas 19 race. I don't think
there has not. Yes,
yeah, at least not enough coverage, in my opinion. So, and I thought that one of the candidates, I think it was Robertson, maybe, who brought it up last night, was we're all going to vote the same way a majority of the time. So, how do you separate yourself from everyone?
But here's the problem, Chad. They go up there. We send good people up there who say they're conservative, they're going to work hard, and they vote. But the voting doesn't do it. We have to have action. We have to have things to vote on. We have to have bills that incrementally take apart the government that we don't need and restore our national security, secure our borders. Those things have not happened. Our border has been wide open since before W took office, and it's still wide open. And the biggest fear that I encounter, the biggest single question I encounter in this district, and I encounter throughout the entire country, is fear of ISIS coming into this country, particularly with the Syrian refugees, the refugees out of Libya, other areas of North Africa. We've seen it happen in Europe over and over again. The governments of Europe, the news media in Europe, are not giving it coverage. They're saying to these people who have come in, they're saying, "Oh, you've got to assimilate. You've got to assimilate." Well, in the meantime, they're raping and pillaging over there. So the American people are really afraid. What sets us apart is background. I've got a varied background. I've got all the areas covered. I'm a farmer. I'm a surgeon, a background in nuclear physics, chemistry. I was on the medical advisory board of pharma until, of course, Obama got into office. And I've got a record of conservative accomplishment that no one else has. I'm the only person who's ever bothered to go to a state Republican convention. My wife and I have been delegates at the last 6 conventions. I led the delegation to the last 2 Republican conventions, 2008, 2012, and you go to the county meetings, you didn't see any of those people there. Now, I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I'm not going up there to be famous. I'm not going up there to make money, and I'm not going up there to get a job as a lobbyist after I'm done in Congress. That is my pledge. My goal is to get this country fixed. And what separates me out right now on the issues is I'm the only one talking about our borders and the Syrian refugees and the fact that we need to take care of these people. Among these Syrian refugees, the majority of them, the large majority, probably are women and children. They need help. But what we need to do as a humane and logical country with our NATO partners and our other partners and our partners in the Middle East is set up refugee camps over there in Jordan and Turkey and friendly areas where we can put these people, we can guard them with American guns, we can supply them with American food and beds and air conditioning units and keep them comfortable until we can clean up that area and they can go back home and rebuild their countries.
You brought up earlier that what this area needs is someone who will go to Washington and do something, write bills, come up with bills. Is it is it really reasonable to think that a freshman lawmaker, which if elected you would be, freshman lawmaker would be able to write all of these bills and get them passed?
I didn't say I was going to write all the bills, but what I plan to do is I'm going to go up there. I'm going to hit the deck on day one. I'm going to work with President Cruz. We'll be getting sworn in about the same time. When Cruz went to the Senate, he was there on day one. Okay, when Louis Gohmert went up to the House, he was there on day one. When Tom Price, my colleague over in who has the Atlanta area, he's an orthopedic surgeon, these people were there on day one. You don't have to sit back in the shadows. Yes, of course, the Speaker of the House is going to say you sit there and you be quiet. Otherwise, I won't give you plum assignments. Well, I may not get the plum assignments that I want. I may not get put on some of the committees that I want. But that doesn't mean that I and my staff can't be at those committees, can't be privy to what's going on, and that I still can't be on the floor and in front of the people every day saying this is what we need to do. What we need is a continuous series of small bills to incrementally take apart the government, parts of the government that we don't need. That includes Obamacare. You just can't immediately defund it overnight, but we need to get it out from under the federal government. Health insurance should not be under the federal government any more than your and my house and car insurance should be under the federal government.
Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
If you get rid of Obamacare, do you replace it with something else?
No, the federal government has no business being in the oversight of health care and the funding of health care. So it is pure socialized medicine. Socialized medicine doesn't work. We've seen the death rates go up in Europe. Chad, let me give you a couple of figures here. 1990, United States of America, we estimated 40,000 medical deaths due to medical errors. 2014, we estimated 300,000 people died in this country because of medical errors. In addition, another 250,000 died because we didn't have antibiotics to treat their infections. And the reason we don't have antibiotics is because the FDA has become a guard dog to keep new drugs from coming out rather than being a facilitator to help us get new drugs in. And the way an antibiotic works, you need a half a dozen or a dozen new ones every year because the bacteria keep mutating. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't use them. They're saying, well, we use too many. No, we just don't have enough new ones. That's the way an antibiotic works. We need a continuous stream of new ones.
We're visiting with Dr. Donald May in studio. He's running for Congress. We'll take the break. When we come back, we'll get into more issues. And if you have a question for Dr. Donald May, feel free to call in. Dr. Donald May in studio. If you have a question for him about his campaign, feel free to dial in. We had a caller earlier who was they were on hold, but they dropped. They wanted to bring up the issue of farm subsidies. Where are you on the issue of farm subsidies in this race? We have some candidates who say we need to wean ourselves away from farm subsidies. You have other candidates who say, I'm against them. I don't like them. I'm ready to get rid of them. Where do you stand?
Well, I stand there as one who's in the middle. I'm a farmer. I'm a grain farmer. My family's been involved with the farm program since the 1930s. We get some level of farm subsidies. That what we need to do, Chad, is we need to get the government out of our way. We farmers need several things. We need our taxes cut. We need to get rid of the death tax because the death tax takes apart the family farm. You and I have talked. When my wife's father died, they hit us with massive death tax on a farm that's just a fruit farm. And we're still burdened with that. Regulations, bad trade deals. Bad trade deals have come up because of the trade deal with Brazil. The cotton farmers got pushed out of the last trade bill. If I were to take my corn and take it up and sell it to in Calgary, Canada, I'd have to pay a 10% surcharge. If they bring the corn down here and sell it in our feedlots, they don't pay anything. Hopefully this Trans-Pacific deal will help us to open up the doors. But we farmers want to get out there and work. We want to make a profit. We want to be able to buy equipment, machinery, inputs. Inputs is another problem, and this isn't so easy to handle. But what we put into the farm, the prices keep going up. I use anhydrous ammonia, which is a nitrogen fertilizer made from natural gas. Back in 1991, we were paying $79 a ton. It went up to $1,500, and it's still hanging around $700 a ton, even though natural gas prices are back down. So the farmers want free enterprise. We're free enterprise people. We're competitive people. But we need, first of all, to get the government regulations out of the way, pull the EPA off of us. This new Navigable Water Act, it applies to stock tanks, and it applies to drainage ditches.
So when you say you're in the middle, because you're a farmer.
I'm in the middle, positively experiencing this. I understand what's going on, and it affects me. And I can speak best for the farmer because I'm right there in the midst of it.
So does that mean when you say you're in the middle of it, you understand why? So because as a farmer, you've received subsidies. Your family's received subsidies.
Absolutely.
But does that mean?
And here's why we do this, Chad. Because I just resurfaced my primary family farm. We put 2 miles of tile in about 6 years ago. I had the federal government in there doing all of the surveying, all the watch over, all the sign off. Why did I do that? And I took some money from the government. They gave me some money to help me do this.
Sure.
Why did I do this? So when it's done, I don't have the EPA coming in, the waterfall people, and all kinds of other do-gooders from the federal government telling me what I've done wrong on the farm and hitting me with a fine every day. That's why I'm involved. And we need to get this big government off of the farmers' backs and out of our way.
Is that how you get subsidies out?
That's how you get us back into profit so we don't have to worry so much. And what we do need is in crop insurance. That can be done with a combination of private enterprise, private insurance, government oversight. This is one area where I think we need government oversight, and we need to make sure that we're not killing the family farm any more than we want. Shouldn't be preferentially hitting other small businesses, because the family farm's a small business. And it's still the backbone of the country. And agriculture, the family farm here in West Texas, is still the backbone. Look at what we've attracted. We're the cottonseed innovation capital of the world now. And we have other things coming in, corn, other crops coming in for innovation to build off of this technology we have. Yes, we might get the federal government off the way. I wish I didn't have to take subsidies. But my tenant farmer has a gross sale of over $1 million a year in crops, and he lives in a trailer. Okay, he drives old trucks because there is no profit left over.
Visiting with Dr. Donald May in studio, candidate for Texas 19. Speaker Ryan, what do you think about the job he's done so far? And if elected, you think you would support Ryan? Or
I'm going to have a look at this. I think the problems I have with Speaker Ryan is he's telling the Republicans, don't stand up to the president. Don't stand up. Don't make waves. For that reason, I would not vote for him at this time. Things can change, but the man does not have the necessary courage. I know Speaker Ryan. I've had a chance to sit and visit with him last year. I think he's a decent man.
He says, let's not make waves. We don't want to create too many waves out there, because if we do that, a lot of people may lose their seats Republican-wise, and Republicans may lose the White House if we stand up and we fight.
That's what the people want.
But then he says we're going to come back and we're going to present more conservative agenda down the road. So is that something where you look at maybe the U.S. Senate and you go, well, that's what the U.S. Senate, Mitch McConnell and the rest have been saying over and over again?
Over and over. We send people up there over and over, and they promise to be conservatives. They promise to vote. That's the problem, is they're voting. That doesn't mean anything. They can get a report every morning from Heritage Foundation who will tell them to vote, and they'll get a 100% conservative record if they follow those outlines. We need people up there to fight.
Is there someone right now who you think is an ideal Speaker of the House?
I like Tom Price. I like Louis Gohmert. Louis Gohmert is just down the road from us here. Louis is, I think, an exceptional person. There are other people out there. Again, I would have to have a better look. But the problem is the Republicans said, give us the House. We'll stop Obama. Then they said, no, we need the Senate. Well, we gave them the Senate. And now they're saying, well, let's just sit tight. We've got less than a year left with this guy in office, and I don't trust the guy in the Oval Office, and I think the Republicans need to take a very, very firm stand, because that's what the American people are looking for, courage. Not some weenie sitting off there and saying, well, we're just going to sit here and wait. We need courage who will stand up in a logical form, not loose cannons, but going up there with the Constitution behind them and saying, look, Mr. President, you can't be doing these things.
Let's go to the phones. I have a question from a listener, Wes. Wes, you're on with Dr. Donald May, candidate for Congress.
Yes, good morning. Good listening to you.
Thank you, sir.
I had a question about what is your feeling about ethanol production in this part of the country?
Ethanol is something that's very active in our country. Previously, my corn used to get shipped over to China and Russia. Right now, 100% of all the corn in my area is going to the world's largest ethanol plant, which is doubling in size. So it is a factor out there. Initially, because of the ethanol, the prices of grain went up. And as a result of those prices going up, people here in the United States took marginal land, which they otherwise wouldn't put in the corn they would have used for grazing. Same thing down in South America. They took Amazon land and Amazon River Basin land and turned it into corn. So now we've got an overproduction, and corn went down to $3.30. So it's just supply and demand that's fluctuating out there. As I discussed earlier this week with some farm people, I think what we need to do with ethanol, we need to use ethanol and start firing up electric production, because ethanol, if we have ethanol plants that are making electricity with boilers underneath, that's 24/7. There's no variation in the power, as opposed to if we have solar panels, when the sun goes down, we only get about 6 hours a day out of a solar panel. We're much better off using ethanol. The other thing we need to do as farmers, and I have a grain checkoff, a corn checkoff that advertises. We need to start getting very, very aggressive out there, pushing a lot more corn usage in poultry production, because it'll give us those bigger golden stand-up yolks that you see in Europe and other parts of the world that we don't have, because we use lesser expensive grains. We need to start pushing more grain use in fish farming, steelhead trout, salmon, to get the natural color of the meat rather than putting dyes in. And in the poultry industry, you start feeding those chickens more corn. That fat on those chickens is going to be a nice golden color rather than white. And also in your prime beef, you're going to start getting more gold color in that beef, which is much more attractive and much more healthy. So we need to do a better job of marketing for the corn too.
Wes, did that answer your question?
Partially. Ethanol usage in automobile fuels is just a joke. It's it's ruining our engines, and it's the output is so much less. Miles per gallon is a whole lot worse, and we don't need to be spending.
You and I are in agreement.
Wes, thank you very much.
You and I are in full agreement there. The fuels are out there. We use biodiesel on the farm, but again, the ethanol, we don't want to get more into the gasoline right now.
Dr. Donald May, thanks for stopping by the studio today.